We see the struggle of ideas as an existential question, confronting all forces in society that struggle for progress. We thus place ourselves squarely among those broad sections of the American people who are searching for a future, who are challenging the philosophy, values, and legitimacy of a dying regime in the United States. The American people today are in open rebellion against the ruling class. This rebellion manifests in many ways, from the groundswell of support for populist candidates in the 2024 presidential race to the broader collapse in public.
I said one thing other than populist, not because populism could be, kind of use it, non-establishment, anti-establishment. Is that fair?
From the groundswell of support for anti-establishment candidates in the 2024 presidential race to the broader collapse in public trust for major institutions of rule in U.S. life, America faces a profound crisis. The ruling elite cannot rule in a good way, making it the task of the people to find their own solutions to resolve the crisis. Contrary to the claims of those who defend the status quo, the American people are not an ignorant, hateful mass interested in imposing a fascist regime upon themselves. Rather, they seek a new type of democracy, and maybe we could accurate the peace industrial economy.
Yes.
And in the process, a new American people is being born. This democratic movement in the U.S. is commensurate with much larger global processes, what can be called an Afro-Asiatic reconstitution of humanity, the democratic recentering of the world order toward the most densely populated and creative and fertile civilizations on the planet. In this light, we recognize that the advances of the 20th century, namely the socialist, anti-colonial, civil rights, and working class movements and revolutions, forged a new global consciousness through the freeing of humanity's majority, and in turn created new possibilities for revolutionary change. Old ideas of revolution are no longer sufficient for this time. We are therefore dedicated to the pursuit of clarity, cutting through manufactured ideas pushed by a ruling elite who seek to divide humanity, and discarding the dogmatism of a left that believes knowledge comes from the top down rather than belonging naturally to the people. Unafraid, we strive for the truth. Indeed, we greet the present moment as greater numbers of ordinary Americans proceed upon a new field of politics on their own terms, striving to know one another in new ways and to rediscover their capacity as agents of history. Avant-garde emerges from the thinking of the Saturday Free School philosophy of Black liberation, a unique project which has for more than a decade endeavored to create spaces of moral, spiritual, and political education for the people of Philadelphia, remaining rooted in
especially youth and children.
especially the youth and children.
Is that what it is?
Remaining rooted in Philadelphia, simultaneously America's poorest major city, and a ravaged living symbol of deindustrialization, as well as the creative epicenter of art and culture and the birthplace of many revolutionary traditions, our journal seeks to engage with the vast and varied coalition of the discontented in the country, and with all people who are sincerely searching for a way out of despair, with men and women of every creed and color who fight for peace and democracy. We embrace the responsibility of exploring questions that the people themselves have put on the table, questions of war and peace, of poverty, of democracy, and of our shared future with each other and all humanity. We are ultimately optimists about the future, standing on the foundation of previous revolutions in our nation's history, the Civil Rights Movement, the Civil War, and the Construction era, and the Revolution of 1776, we believe that a fourth American Revolution is possible. Armed with the fire and force of new ideas, we are confident that the American people can make it so. I don't know if anyone is working on the journal or working on the article.
Like saying we should say what we're working on. So, yeah.
Well, like anyone who's been, well, also, I could also say that the articles that we're working on for the first issue, since I don't think we covered that last time, but yeah, so in addition to this mission statement, we have a lot of articles in different pieces that are being developed for the first issue of Avant-Garde, which we're hoping to launch in November to coincide with also the Henry Winston event. But Doc is writing an essay on Henry Winston, which I think will be very good for introducing Henry Winston as a world historic figure, and as someone who speaks to this moment of American history. So there's that. And then we also have Emily writing an article on Trotskyism, and especially investigating Trotskyism and its how it's being used against the youth in America today, and sort of as a contemporary phenomenon, like an ideological contemporary phenomenon. And then we have Kathy developing an article on free jazz, and in particular focusing on a figure such as Archie Shepp, who was produced by Philadelphia, and then went on to become part of this world movement, which was kind of symbolized by his performance along with Bill Dixon at the World Festival of Youth and Students in 1962 in Helsinki, and kind of like investigating both the historical but also even kind of the philosophical and ideological kind of underpinnings of what that means. And then we have...
It's more complicated
Yeah.
than we talk about.
Yeah.
And deindustrialization. That's all.
Yeah, and then so along with that we have Nuri developing an article on basically the concept of civilization as an idea for this time, and that's kind of also building on the presentation that she gave at the Korea event, which was using a lot of Robeson, and I think can work in kind of this concept of the Afro-Asiatic configuration. And then we have Eddie writing an article, kind of an article to Mexican Americans, in particular like young Mexican Americans for this time, and what is the relationship for basically a younger generation of immigrants and their relationship to this country, but also their relationship to something like the Black freedom struggle, and how young people can see themselves as part of this tradition, and like how is it that anyone will encounter these ideas in American society. And also, I think, also this is kind of in conversation with Minister Abel Mohammed's presentation at the Chicago event as well. And then we have Jahan writing a critique of Gerald Horne and the 1619 Project and Southern colonialism, and how all of these ideologies are being weaponized in this time. And then kind of related to that, I'm writing a critique of Norman Finkelstein's new book on identity politics and cancel culture and wokeness and all this stuff, and how also this is like another kind of ideological trend, especially within the left, which is like, I'll talk about it more. And then we have, in addition to those articles, I think those are the articles, and then we also have artwork that's going to be going into the issue. And so Serafina is developing either a painting or series of paintings on Black reconstruction, and also writing stuff to go along with it, like a statement in terms of what is the role of the artist, like in this time. And then Michelle is also developing kind of a photo series or photo history of the Free School, because Michelle's been documenting many of the free, not just the events, but also just kind of the trajectory of the Free School itself over the past few years. And so, so there's articles, but also art that are going into this first issue, and so we're trying to